Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you people, take a stand.
My name is Allie Bancroft. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a public health professional and activist. So I'm originally from Atlanta and have gone to school in Ohio and North Carolina. Spent a few months in France and Colombia, and then have worked in reproductive rights here in Georgia, grant making with a focus on diabetes in New York, and throughout my career, just different projects in Haiti, Rwanda, the Dominican Republic, but then also looking at health inequities here in the South in my own backyard.
My name is Danny Snyder, and I am an artist activist. I also go by she, her, hers. I am currently in Mexico City, which is kind of crazy. I was in DC, and then I was in Austin, Texas, so I'm also kind of hopping around too. And today I want to talk about the project that we both actually worked on. Even though I'm kind of interviewing you about the project, we both did work on this project. There's actually quite a lot of description on our projects page on the exhibit, on the gallery, on the website. But can you go ahead and give us a brief description about what it was that we did?
Gladly. And Danny was absolutely a vibrant force within the project and did a lot of our heavy lifting. So for the project, we rewrote Dolly Parton's beloved Jolene to be about the importance of a free vaccine. And then we collaborated with a team of professional musicians, including the band The Invisible Familiar, to have a demo of the song that we then used to create a video trailer, but we will be dropping our full-length music video in a few months. And as part of our trailer, we solicited videos from artists, students, lawyers, scientists from all over the world. And as part of this, they recorded themselves singing along or dancing, maybe goofing off with animals or kids in their lives.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you people, take a stand.
And we were able to put all of that footage together because we had a very talented video editing team.
Yeah, we put footage together for the trailer, and then we're like still putting footage together for the full-length music video. Yeah.
And in approaching our friends and family and participants, we really tried to seek representation of the many different people affected by COVID-19. So thinking about the participants, I think we have videos from Mexico, probably 8 or 9 different states in the US. I'm trying to I haven't watched the video in a second, so I probably should have done this before our call, but I think we have people from Germany, Canada. I should go back and rewatch because I know we have people from
That's actually a good point. We should have, because I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask you later, which we can kind of cover it all at once if we want, but I was going to ask you if you've reflected more on how we could be more effective in getting more participation. And one thing I just thought of now is maybe we should have on the video included the countries, like where all these videos were taken in the States. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something I would love to have in the future. Yeah, because off the top of my head, I know we have a few people from Brazil, even of people who are US based. A lot of folks are there's a woman who's originally from Eritrea, or a friend of mine submitted a video and her family is from Cuba, though she was born in New York. So we have a lot of different experiences and identities, health systems represented within the project. But I would love to see that moving forward, because something I've loved about the campaign is that it's brought together artists, activists, lawyers, scientists, students from all over the world. And we're in a moment where there's a pandemic that is threatening our very well-being. And I think sometimes that dread can be very scary and in a weird way kind of unite us all and remind us all of our mortality. But it's very powerful to take that fear and to turn it into something that is creative, and to kind of flip this thing that's uniting us into a positive.
Yeah, can you elaborate a little bit more too on particularly like your role and how you were really trying to get people involved? And again, maybe as we go into the second season, if you have any new goals.
So I would say I was one of the creative queen bees, and then kind of took on a project management role within the project. So identifying different tasks and timelines for those, whether it was getting a demo for the song, soliciting videos, and working with our video editing team to kind of figure out what the timeline for putting those together might look like. And then also working to put together a comms plan for when we would drop the video on social media, different entities we would contact on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whether we were trying to seek feedback from famous country music stars or whether we were interacting with Vanderbilt University, because we did a fair amount of outreach with them. And as part of that, we were collaborating with the UAM chapter that is based there, because they already had longstanding relationships within the university community. So yeah, a lot of my job was just keeping the project moving forward and trying to balance all of the different tasks that were needed to create this video and the song, but then also to disseminate it with the world and to try to use the video to propel policy change or some kind of budget change in a way that would have measurable outcomes for public health. So yeah, that was kind of the vision for the project. Certainly we are still pushing towards policy change into making forthcoming therapies and vaccines affordable and accessible for all people. But that was the vision for the project. And a lot of our outreach to different entities that has called upon the project has had that in mind, whether we are emailing Dolly Parton's team or administration at Vanderbilt University or different journalists. That's been what we are demanding.
And then have you thought more about what you want to do in this next season to push the project?
Sure. So I think for the next season, I would love to continue to solicit videos from different participants, supporters, activists around the world, seeking to have more representation of people who are really vulnerable when it comes to getting COVID or developing a complication, just to have really the communities who are most affected by this condition to be a critical part of the process. I would love to make sure that we're sharing with the world the diversity that's within our team, whether it's sharing the different geographic locations where people are, or even the different levels of ability, because I think that's something that's also been included within our project. And then I think seeking to collaborate more closely with the Vanderbilt chapter, especially now that classes have resumed. And so I think getting some traction on this issue and getting publicity might be a little bit more feasible.
Yeah.
Is definitely something, more media engagement, because I think ultimately that's how we're gonna get legs and maybe make some change.
Yeah. Which I do think the more press, just generally in social media, whatever, will definitely help with getting.
Do you want to drink water? I just realized I'm chugging.
I was drinking water. Our artists, activists, we should all drink water. I was thinking today we'd focus more on the interaction, because I do see a lot of really good artists, activist, artivism, but it's something that for me as a viewer, I feel kind of passive in the experience. And in this project, we're kind of to some degree demanding that people were send a video, send us you singing or dancing, so that's cool. But maybe we could talk a little bit too about, instead of just how we were effective in or will be effective in getting people involved, we actually, as far as Vanderbilt goes, we haven't gotten much response from Vanderbilt. And I'm not talking about UAM chapter. I'm talking about the important people. So maybe we can also talk a little bit too about what your goals are for getting someone from Vanderbilt to call us back, to email us back.
So I would say the holy grail is to receive support for our pledge to make the IP for discoveries related to COVID vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, to make that IP widely available is our big goal. So certainly along the way, I think there are other indicators that would be very exciting to be able to get a phone call with, say, general counsel or with different researchers. So I think nurturing the relationship will be something that we will focus on, and that will likely just require consistency. So still emailing, calling, potentially doing some socially distant events on campus will be a really critical way to drive that. So I don't know if we will get support on the pledge before the end of this round. We can dream, but I think, regardless, it's still important that we take action to nurture that relationship and to get them to at least explore this idea. Yeah. And so that's something that I think will definitely be most successful if we're connecting with the chapter on campus, but then also ideally doing some media engagement and then maybe getting some feedback from higher profile figures. Certainly Dolly herself would be fantastic, but then even there are some higher profile journalists within the country music industry, or you've even had a few well-regarded scientists and ethicists who have retweeted the video. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. Having more of that would be exceptional.
Cool. Is there anything in particular about the project that you want to talk about?
Something that really sticks out to me is that the original song of Jolene, it's very much one woman imploring another. And I think that there is a power imbalance that is built into those lyrics. And that reminds me somewhat of the dynamic that we have today with pharmaceutical companies and patients, where there is this power imbalance. And so in a lot of ways, having this song as a template felt quite perfect because of the nature of that relationship, and how it's something that isn't fair. And particularly in an era where our economy is shut down, 1 in 5 adults in the United States are out of work, the significance of a vaccine being free and available to all, it's our lives, it's our livelihoods, it's so big. That might be more about sort of the artistic nature of the project, or some of kind of philosophy.
I love that. It's not just because Jolene and vaccine rhyme. It's not just because of that. There was some deep poetic shit happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were some stanzas, verses, I'm not sure if I'm using the right language, where we ultimately tweaked very little. I think, there's one lyric that says, "My happiness depends on you." And
you say we, you did like all the writing. Let's just hear about that. Like, we gave you some thoughts and feedback, but you really rewrote the lyrics. So
I did much of the first draft, and then we worked with the Invisible Familiars for the recording, and they made some pretty important edits. So I want to acknowledge all of their hard work. But yeah, I think there's the one lyric where in Dolly's version, she says, my happiness depends on you," and in our version, it's "Our very lives depend on you." What stands out in the project to you? I feel like I should be asking you questions. I'm like being
drag queens. I don't know, the puppets. There's a shot of me with a donkey. That's pretty spectacular.
It is.
The interactive portion is so important to me, and I feel like it's something I'm still, in all of my artistic activism, it's something I've struggled with, is like how to get transform spectators into actors, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's even more challenging for me personally, like using the internet. I'm used to doing it in physical spaces where I can actually go up to a spectator and take them on stage, you know? So I'm still curious too, to think about how we can really push people to submit videos, because we have gotten some, but not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. I want like hundreds, yeah,
I would
to edit through.
love that.
Yeah, so that's something I still need to think about more on, but we only just started this, you know, the second round of the campaign, so we have some, I know those dialogues and conversations will come up soon. Yeah.
It's funny you say that. A refrain that I have, and it probably drives a lot of other people within UAEM bonkers, is that I will often claim that I think advocacy and fundraising are very similar. Just a lot of my career has spanned both. And ultimately, I see the two activities being very relationship oriented, and you're learning about why somebody is interested in a cause, and then you make an ask. But you do the ask within the span of a greater relationship. It's not like your contact or their interest within the issue ends after that ask, whether they say yes or no. You know, the key differences are you're asking for something different, and maybe the person you're approaching might differ, just, you know, based on whether you're doing advocacy or whether you're raising money.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, this project feels like it's a reflection of that same activity, where you're building a relationship and making an ask when you're inviting somebody to submit a video. And so it's fun to add an artistic dimension to that, because I think you're reaching new people, and maybe I think inviting people to participate in a way that might feel more empowering or comfortable or just less stale.
Like more meaningful, totally. Like there's
yeah, I mean,
people sign a petition and then that's it. They don't think about it again. Hopefully they do, you know. But yeah, this is like, they can share this video with other people. Look, I'm in this thing, and yeah,
absolutely. And it's, I think often, and certainly you can speak to this more so than I, because I feel like you're a well-established artist. I think art is so often political, or even like what we consider art is political, but that's not something that as a broader world we always talk about. And so it's really interesting to have art projects that are broadly recognized as being political, because I think it kind of invites like broader discussion.
Yeah, and there's so much I can say on this, but this has got to wait for like a podcast or something else. But yeah, there's a lot I can say about how art is political, how we view art as a commodity versus like, you know, something that goes in a museum and represents like a period in time in history. A lot I can say on that. I'm not going to get on those soapboxes though, but this is great. What we talked about is perfect, actually. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today about your role, because I know you're really busy and all the crazy things that you're doing for our country, because you do all sorts of advocacy, not just access to medicine. And so I really admire you, and I love talking to you. So this is
thank you.
We're on the team working, and then in this kind of, you know, structure too. I love it.
Thank you. You're very kind, Danny. I really appreciate you facilitating this discussion and leading this interview. I'm really excited to see how we showcase this project with the world.
Yeah, and how people can still submit videos. The project is not done.
Please submit videos.
Yes, yes.